Welcome back to the Beyond Elevated show. I'm sitting here having a great time. It's amazing how these NFL seasons wrap up, and I get to talk sports with two of my best compadres sitting here. And in your screens in the upper right hand corner, we have the incredible Mr. Ryan Lillis, all the way from Texas, Dallas, Texas, and he's a Texas techie. So let's be nice to him today. Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing swell, guys. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I can't complain. And rest in peace to Mr. Leach. I know that he was a big deal
Yeah,
in Texas A&M. Do you want to talk about that for a second, Ryan? Texas
yeah,
Tech.
yeah.
Yeah.
So right. Yeah, he never lost to Texas A&M, believe it or not, while he was in Lubbock. So he was a program changer, and rest in peace to the Pirate. It's a pretty sad day in Raiderland. Just the amount of social media love that he's gotten today, he truly changed the college football complex and how offenses are run, and even in the NFL today. He was doing it before most people were. So, um, sports lost a titan today, and just one of the best personalities out there.
Absolutely. I saw some of his interviews before, and I always remember him back in the day when he was at Texas Tech, and he was just he's a great
Oh man,
guy, always, well loved in the sports community. So definitely
Mhm.
rest in peace.
Yep.
Mike Leach, our prayers go out to you and your family. And sitting next to him is my brother from another mother, coming in all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. His picks are finally starting to get better. Mr. P. Diddy. Mr. Percy is in control. Mr. Percy owns so many different businesses, and he's such a great entrepreneur. But today we're talking about sports. And Mr. Percy Jones, what up, man?
What's going on, fellas? What's going on, man? Week 14 is here already, fellas. We got some good games this weekend.
Mhm.
Yes, and I think we're talking about week 15 up and coming. Week 14 just passed. It was an incredible weekend of football, incredible weekend of sports. For those of you who are watching the World Cup, Argentina actually went to the finals today, and so this is just a really good week, and especially getting here in December, getting up for your holidays. Happy holidays to everybody, and we're going to dive into some sports here, but just really happy holidays, and this is really good time for sports. So we're going to dive right in. So this week, and the week that just passed on Sunday, we had some incredible games. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spitfire some questions here to our expert panelists, Mr. Ryan and Mr. Percy, and we're going to get into some really good topics. And then while we're talking about those topics, we may dive into some things that happened this weekend and start talking a little bit deeper. But the first question that I have for you, we're going to go to Ryan, is Kansas City won this weekend over the Denver Broncos 34-28. I say that in a kind of hoping that it's a foreshadowing question for you, because I know one person on this panel is probably going to pick them. Ryan, let's start with the AFC. And the question I have for you is, who are you predicting will finish in first place and get the bye and home field advantage in the AFC?
Well, we may have to make that two because I think Kansas City. I think they really are the best team in the AFC. I know the Bills are right there. Miami's kind of slacked off a little bit these last few weeks, playing a little bit inconsistent. So for right now and what I see right now and the way teams are playing, I think Kansas City is playing the best football right now and most consistent. I know they've dropped a game, but I mean they were in it to the final minutes. So I think Kansas City will get it down the long run.
And why, Ryan? Why do you feel that way? Besides your ever loving affection for your man crush on Patrick Mahomes. No, I'm joking. You don't have a man crush on him, but he did go to Texas Tech, so
He did.
and he is currently the best quarterback in the league. So why Kansas City?
Right now, I definitely think because of the offense, obviously, they won a game last week where Kelsey was almost nowhere to be found, and that doesn't happen too often. And I really like their running game actually with McKinnon and what they're doing with him and Pacheco right now. I really think Pacheco is going to be a special player in this league. I really do. But I just think the talent level that their offense is playing with right now and what they're doing, and Andy Reid as the coach, I just think they're meshed. They know what their game plan is. So I just think because of them and their defense is opportunistic. So they create turnovers. So I think that's going to give them the edge down the long run. And if Pat takes care of the ball too. So
Yeah, and he's doing a pretty good job right now. Percy, we're going to move the same question over to you. Who finishes number 1 in the AFC and gets the bye, also gets home field advantage throughout the playoffs?
Let's go, guys. Right now with the AFC, it's very, very, very tight. I am still going to say it's going to have to go through Buffalo, guys. I'm still going to rock with Buffalo. It's Buffalo. They got some key pieces back, even though they lost a few, especially on the defensive side. But I'm not saying he's has found himself yet. But I like Cook right now and what they're doing with Cook in the backfield. I think that's an added addition that they did not have early on in the season. The running game pretty much non-existent. I still like what's going on the offensive side. And defensively, man, that front seven, I like it, man. I really like the linebacking core and the D line, even though they lost. Help me out, guys. Who they
Von
lost?
Miller.
Von Miller.
They lost Von. I think that kind of gave everybody else on the defense up front an extra push. So I'm still going to go with Buffalo. This weekend is going to really, really show what gets shaken with that Miami and Buffalo game we're going to talk about later. But I'm still going with Buffalo, guys. And they get the bye, they get the home field, and you got to come to Buffalo if you want to get to that AFC Championship.
So I I hate doing this because I do believe down in my heart that Kansas City is going to get the bye, but just to play devil's advocate a little bit, I love the Cincinnati Bengals. I just love the way that they're playing right now. I love how they can win in different ways. You see Perrine and Perrine, whatever, that he uses so many different, everybody loves them. It's like Hushman Zeta. It's like, you say Perrine, you say Perrine. I love the way that Cincinnati is playing. Their defense right now is really holding down the fort. Their run defense is absolutely incredible. Joe Burrow is playing lights out of his mind, taking care of the ball, unlike in the beginning of the season. You can't say that this team isn't seasoned. They're seasoned. They've been to the promised land before. They just went into Kansas City and won. They also went into Cleveland last week and won, which has kind of been like their arch nemesis over the last couple of years. And I just believe that with that receiving core, if they're healthy, and Joe Burrow with Mixon, who's obviously just come back, I think they're playing lights out. And I do feel that obviously if there's the tiebreaker, they're going to get it over Kansas City. And I just think that there's a possibility here that they may be able to ride this through and get first place, get the bye. And I really do feel like that Cincinnati Bengals crowd adds another dimension. Such the same thing as the Buffalo Bills and Kansas City. They're all, big time teams. But I think that from a Cincinnati perspective, I really do truly think that they have something special. And I think that they're going to prevail here. And I do believe also that they do end up playing Buffalo here in the next couple of weeks. So I do think that that's going to be a key matchup. Buffalo has been struggling here recently. And you might say that they're not struggling, but Allen he hasn't been perfect. Yes, they're winning games, but he hasn't been MVP lights out, Allen. And you might say to yourself, well, it doesn't matter because they're still going to get the bye and they're still 10-3. And right now they're still sitting in first place. But I do believe that it could potentially be a change, and especially when Cincinnati plays Buffalo. And I think Cincinnati is going to have the easier schedule with Lamar Jackson being out and having to play Baltimore. So let's move on here. I do want to talk about more teams in the AFC. Ryan, which team is currently outside of the playoffs? And I know this is a tough question, so I'm gonna state this because I know a lot of this is already kind of predetermined. it's hard for them to get into the playoff spot. But which team right now in the AFC do you see that's outside of the playoffs, that's not currently having a playoff spot through week 14, that potentially can get into the playoffs before the week 18?
This is a hard one. But for right now, for what I see right now, I would have to say the Los Angeles Chargers. And I know I haven't been sold on them all week or all year, excuse me. But I don't know what's happened to the Jets. That's just a whole nother question, and that's why I can't put them in there, which I would have a few weeks ago. But I would have to say the Los Angeles Chargers right now. Justin Herbert, for what they have, um, he's doing some pretty good things, and that was a big victory this week for them, coming off a big W, and I expect him to do the same this next week. So, yeah, I like the Chargers.
And speaking of big W's, when you say that big W, yes, I think it was a huge W. The Chargers beat Miami on Sunday Night Football 23-17. Tua did not look really good, but we're going to ask the same question to Percy. Percy, who is on the outside looking in right now in the AFC that you think can earn a playoff spot here before the end of the year?
Whew. All right. That's a good call right there, Ryan. The Chargers are playing phenomenal. And Mike Williams and Keenan Allen right now are on fire. So if they keep rocking the way they rocking, that could be scary, even though their quarterback is, as Robert said, is yet to win a playoff game yet, but he's getting all this praise. But who I would like to see, guys, honestly, I would like to see the Patriots get in, man. The Patriots, okay. I really like. I don't know how they do it. And
to be fair to Percy, right now there's a tie. If there was the tiebreaker at 7 and 8, the Patriots right now would be in. So some of you guys are going to say, "Oh my gosh, Percy, you can't pick a team that's already in." Well, right now there's a 3-way tie. The Patriots, the Chargers, and the Jets are 7 and 6. So let's just say that the Patriots were in a battle between those three, and he's going to pick the Patriots. That's fine. Continue, Percy. Why though? Why is the question?
Man, they just it's still like. Tom Brady's gone. They have no big name wide receivers. And literally each and every week, somebody's out there just doing just enough. They found another running back somehow. They never have a running back that's like out there that's just like, yo, he's top 10. But they always got a running back that's going to catch it out the backfield, that's going to run between the tackles and get it done. I mean, that's just what they're known for. And defensively, they get it done. Like, they really get it done. And Matt does just enough of what he has to do to get the W. So if they can sneak in there, man, and depending on who they play, I like them going against somebody in that first round, man, and shake it up.
Speaking of the Patriots, they actually won last night, Monday Night Football, against the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray had an injury where he tore his ACL. It was confirmed today, so their season is definitely officially over. But the New England Patriots just beat up on the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona 27-13. It was tough to watch, but it also just reminded me how I think it was more of a statement on how bad the Cardinals are instead of the how good the Patriots are. But Percy, I definitely do like the Patriots, and that's a tough division right there. But when you talk about my pick, and this is definitely, I want everybody to say that I'm not going to pick the three teams. I'm not going to pick the Patriots, Chargers, or Jets. I'm going to go in a different direction, and I'm going to pick the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the reason I'm going to pick Jacksonville is because not a saying basically of hyping them up and saying how great they are. I think it's a combination of them getting a little better, but I also think it's a direct let's just say a direct statement on how bad the Tennessee Titans are playing right now, sitting 7 and 6. And it just looked like over the weekend when Jacksonville did play Tennessee, they beat them up really, really bad. Like, it wasn't a close game. If you were watching it, the score, I think, was a little bit more closer than it actually looked when the Jaguars won 36-22 in Tennessee. And Lawrence, the quarterback, the second-year quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars, is starting to really kind of grab on to the idea and the fact that he should have been picked number 1 overall. He's a generational type quarterback, and some of the throws that he's making are unbelievable. I think that they went into Tennessee and beat them up for a reason. They also get to play them the last game of the season. So if there's any kind of where they're only 1 game back with 1 game to go and they get to go play Tennessee, it's going to be in Jacksonville. Jacksonville, if they win that game, if there's a tie, then obviously Jacksonville is going to go and win the division. And I'm just thinking Doug Peterson has been here before. He's done it with Nick Foles when they've been a little bit behind with the Eagles. And I just feel like they can get this done. Now, they have a very big matchup with the Dallas Cowboys this week, which I do think is a very interesting game to watch this week. But Dallas Cowboys just struggled very heavily against the Houston Texans after beating up on a bunch of different teams that the Dallas Cowboys have. So I don't like the direction that the Titans are going. They got beat up by the Eagles. They fired their general manager. I don't like it. So I do think that they're tanking. I mean, not tanking as in they're not trying to get to the playoffs. I just think they're heading in the wrong direction. I believe at one point in the season they were 7-2 or 7-3. Now they're 7-6, and Jacksonville's only sitting 2 games behind. Next question, we're going to come directly to you, Percy, first, and that is which team do you predict will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl? And I know that you gave your answer on who you think is going to get the bye, but I want to know, who do you think is going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl and why?
Okay, Ryan, and this is who I want to represent, man. I want the Miami Dolphins.
Whoa!
I want
okay.
the Dolphins to run through every city in the AFC and make it to the Super Bowl, Ryan. I would love to see what they do after they fired their coach, made all these additions to the team, went from the beginning of the season to Tua. Remember, you guys were saying, some of you guys were saying Tua wasn't even going to come back. You know, were they going to keep playing Teddy the whole 9? Right. Just the way the NFL and sports in general are set up on these stories, you know, and what perfect story would it be for Miami to go through all this in the last year and somehow end up in the Super Bowl? Their defense isn't bad. The defense isn't bad. They got receivers and Tua out there. They added Robert in the backfield. That's doing. Why not? So I would like to see Miami represent the AFC. That's what I would like to see, guys.
Well, just to give you some thoughts to add to your idea, Percy. Right now, the Miami Dolphins sit 10th in defense. If you're looking at PFF rankings for the season, for the regular season so far, I'm looking up exactly where they sit on offense. They sit 5th on offense. So they're top 10 in both. So I don't think you're crazy by saying that. I do think that this week, that Buffalo matchup, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is huge. Go ahead, Percy.
The only thing, not the only thing, but one of the things negative about Miami is when they're on the road, that is when they give up the most points and they don't score the most points. So that is a major negative for them. But like you said, ranked 10th and 5th, anything can happen any given Sunday, man.
I agree. All right, so let's go over to Ryan. Ryan, how do you feel about the question? Who do you think is going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl?
I know I'm going to get some heat for this, but I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills.
Ooh.
I am. Okay. I'm going to have them.
So wait, I want to make sure we're on the same page, Ryan, because you will get held accountable. Don't make any sexy picks here. You are going to get held accountable. It is week 15. We're heading into week 15. You picked Kansas City to get home field. So you're basically saying that Buffalo could have the opportunity to go into Kansas City and win, and they did earlier in the regular season. But I just want to make sure that that's what we're saying here.
This is the one I had the most struggle with when we got this question. This was the hardest one. I'm gonna go I'm going to go Buffalo.
Okay.
I just think in the playoffs, I think it comes down to not who has the best player, but who has the best overall scheme and the overall in defense. In my opinion, I believe that whoever has the better defense is going to win this game because the offenses are freaking loaded. I mean, these teams are going to score points. It's who can limit the most opportunities when it's crunch time and when there's a play or a busted play or a mistake made, who can cash in on those mistakes. And right now, I think Buffalo actually has a better defense than the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs' defense is okay. That's just the thing that worries me when in that head-to-head matchup is the defense that the Buffalo Bills have and how they get it in that front seven. That front seven, like Percy said, is pretty nasty. So I know they're struggling right now, but I think they'll wake up. I really do. And they're still 10-3. This is still a 10-3 football team. We're not. This team isn't 7-6 here. But these standards that we set, like I was saying last week, they're always high. So I think Buffalo. I know I'm going to catch heat for that, but I think Buffalo gets in.
All right. Well, hey, listen, I'm going to go with Kansas City. And the reason I'm going to go with Kansas City is because just quarterbacks win games. Patrick Mahomes is by far the best quarterback in the league this year. You can make an argument for you can make an argument for Jalen Hurts, and I'm an Eagles fan, so I would want to push that narrative as hard as I possibly could. But Patrick Mahomes is just unbelievable right now. 65% completion rating, 4,161 yards passing. Second is Justin Herbert and 3,700. He's averaging around 8.2 yards per attempt. He's got 33 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, and it's a 3-to-1 ratio right now. I think him and Jalen Hurts are the front runners for MVP, and I just see that if they do get the bye, they're at least going to get one home playoff game. But if they do get the bye, it goes through Kansas City. You got to look at Andy Reid. You got to look at that every year that Patrick Mahomes has started, he's at least made it to the AFC Championship. I believe that he is still pissed off about losing to Cincinnati and Kansas City last year. I do believe that if they would have won that game, that they would have went on to win the Super Bowl. I think that he is itching to get that second Super Bowl ring. He's starting to hear the comments about, well, is he going to be close to Brady? And he cares about that kind of stuff, and he hears it. And I think he also wants to go through and really in the AFC this year in the playoffs, really cement the fact that he is still the number one guy. Think about it. The playoffs could have a lot of suitors. It could have, in the AFC in particular, it could have Joe Burrow in there. It could have Justin Herbert. It's probably definitely going to have Josh Allen. It's going to have Tua, and it's going to have Patrick Mahomes. And I just believe that he comes through here like he normally always does and beats up on everybody and shows who is still the best quarterback in the league and the only person right now that people are really kind of comparing to Tom Brady. Let's move on to the next question here. Who's your sleeper team, guys? I know that we've talked about a lot of things. And when I say the sleeper team, let's just say that this team isn't going to go to the playoffs. This team in the AFC, this team isn't going to go to the playoffs. This team isn't going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. They're not even going to make the playoffs. But that things are starting to look good for this team, and you see some building blocks here for them to start moving forward into next year and the years to come. Ryan, who do you got in the AFC?
That's a good question. Mine's going to be between. It's going to be between the Jets or the Jaguars. I'd probably say the Jaguars just because of the run that they put on here in the last kind of 4 weeks or so. They played really well.
So you're saying I'm wrong with my pick with the Jaguars making it to the playoffs? No, I'm joking.
No, not at all.
It's a joke. Go ahead, continue.
But I like where this team is opposed to where they were. That they're playing a lot better on defense. They're tackling the football. They're pursuing the football. They're not giving up the monster points that they kind of were earlier in the season. It's kind of hard to win a game in the NFL when you're giving up 35 points here and there. and you have a second-year quarterback and putting it all on his shoulders, that's just not a recipe for winning. But they figured it out, and I think it's really good for them whether they make the playoffs or not. I think they're playing positive football, and it's good to do that at the end of the year, going into next season. And you can build on that, and you got a little bit of a better, you got a little bit better feeling in the front office. Hey, we're pretty close here. Let's get that investment. Let's spend the money on these pieces that we need, and that's more likely to happen if unless rather than fumbling and stumbling into the off season. So I think they're doing well. If they keep going, I think they can add some more pieces and be even better next year.
Percy?
Ryan took my team, man.
Percy's been saying Jackson.
I've been screaming Jag since the beginning of the season. I just did a quick glance at my list here, and the only other team I even see to qualify would be the Jags. I mean, yeah, I'm going to go with the Jags. The Jets are showing signs. They definitely are showing signs, and I like their coach, but I'm going to stick with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And, if you want to go back to our previous episodes, to our listeners, you'll hear all of the reasons why I like the Jags. And I would love to see how they finish off and how they come back next season. So I'm going with Jacksonville. Duval.
Trevor Lawrence is playing well, and I do like the Jacksonville Jaguars because I do like Doug Peterson, and I like their coach, and I like their process. To piggyback on what Ryan was saying with the Jets, I also like. You, Percy. I also like their coach with the Jets. I like the fact that he had the awareness to sit down your second pick of the draft last year and Zach Wilson, because he just felt like not only was it not working out, but it wasn't a good fit in the locker room at that current time. And we don't know what's going to happen with Zach Wilson. So I like the fact that he did that. I also like the fact that his players are playing hard for him. And White came out there and balled. And even though he was getting hurt, he kept coming back and coming back and coming back. I think that speaks to his heart. And I think that speaks to the kind of team they are. Sauce Gardner's playing lights out. He's going to be probably an all pro this year in his first year. Maybe one of the best lockdown cornerbacks in the league next year. But for me, I'm going to pick the Pittsburgh Steelers just because of Mike Tomlin and how he has this team 5-8 right now. And this team is not on paper supposed to be good at all.
No.
But Pittsburgh just finds a way. They find a way. Like, they should have only won 2 or 3 games this year. They had one of the worst rosters in the league. But Mike Tomlin finds a way. So let's just say the front office gives them a team that should win 8 or 9 games. I think that Mike Tomlin pushes it to 10 and 11. And it's time to start talking about Mike Tomlin as one of the best coaches in the league. Every single week they're going to give it all they have. So let's move on here. Let's shift focus. Let's go to the NFC. We had a slate of some really good games in the NFC this week. You had the Eagles beating up on the Giants 48-22. The Eagles cementing themselves again as the best team in the NFC. The Cowboys squeaking one out 27-23 against the Houston Texans. The Minnesota Vikings taking a big step back and losing 34-23 in a game to the Detroit Lions, which a lot of people are looking at and saying that they probably should have lost. And it's just a lot of amazing things that are happening in the NFC. Let's start with you, Percy. Who do you think is going to get the first pick? Not the first pick, but the first round bye and have a home field advantage? And go ahead. I can't wait to see your answer. I can't wait, because we can just keep this thing moving if you want to.
All three of us need to have the same team picked, in my opinion. Okay. Right now, the Philadelphia Eagles are the team for the bye. The Philadelphia Eagles have it all set up for them to mess up if they do mess up. So I got the Eagles with the bye. I got the Eagles representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. And I actually really want to see Philadelphia go all the way, man. I want to see it. I'm a believer. I really am a believer this season, and they spent their money wisely in the offseason and during the season, in my opinion, to put a team together and go get that Super Bowl. So Philadelphia Eagles, man.
Ryan.
I think it's unless something disastrous happens, which they still do play at Dallas. I have to go with the Eagles until I see anything different. Yes, they've had some close games, but they took care of business last week, and as they should have. I just don't think. I don't think the Giants are who we thought they were. Um, yeah, they're better than they have been, but that's not really saying much. Sorry, New York. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Eagles for sure to get the bye week. I think they're the first one. Usually, I say this, and this is my first year on this podcast, but first one to 12 wins usually gets that bye, um, and they're already there. So I think they'll get the bye week.
Top 10 defense, top 10 offense, just like Miami. And I think the difference here is just Jalen Hurts. I can't think back. I've tried to do some historical research, Percy. I can't think back to a season where preseason there was a quarterback that was being mentioned as in if he plays average, if he plays okay, then the Eagles are probably going to have a good chance of competing for the division. And they were thinking that he would finish somewhere in the middle of the pack, and it would be kind of a season where it would be a grade on Jalen Hurts if the Eagles decided to move forward with him going forward. And he has completely exceeded expectations. Not only is he probably a top 2 to top 3 MVP finish or in the season this year, but also he is just playing absolutely lights out. He has a 68% completion rating with 3,153 yards. From a passing perspective, he has 22 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He's running the ball like crazy. He's playing lights out, and he's probably going to break so many different records. It's the Eagles' best record that they ever had in the history of the Eagles. The team is probably going to finish somewhere 16-1 or 15-2. They're going to get the bye. And that's who I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick the Philadelphia Eagles, but I'm going to pick that because of just how lights out that Jalen Hurts is playing. Ryan, if we go over also to the team that we think is going to represent the Super Bowl, I'm going in the NFC. I'm going to choose the Eagles. Percy's already chosen the Eagles. I have a feeling just because you're a homer that you're going to pick a different team, and I'm here to listen to why. I'm here to listen to why, and I'm going to give you that platform to give your reasons why.
You guys are going to be shocked at my pick, and it's not for any shock value. It's because of just I'm a defensive guy. I'm gonna have the 49ers going to the Super Bowl.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Purdy is the quarterback?
I don't think
Okay.
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
I think the way they're designed to play football, you need your quarterback to make throws, but with McCaffrey and is Debo done for the year? I think he
Yeah.
is.
Well, no, they're saying
Oh,
that he may end up coming back later, but it looked like a really bad injury.
it did. So I didn't really check up on that, but if they've got Debo, I think that could complement this. But this defense is the best defense in the league, and I didn't believe that, and then I watched what they did to our precious Tom Brady, our goat, who was just prancing in the field, and they destroyed his offense, and they kept him at bay. They shut them down for most of the game. They made it look pretty easy, to be honest with you. I know the Bucks have struggled, but if this defense can do what they do, which they've done the last weeks, they are nasty. They get turnovers, and they don't give up touchdowns. You're not going to beat them, kicking field goals. And they control the ball and they control the game, just like Percy loves to do. Run the dang ball, RTDB. And that's what they do, and they do it very well. Ever since they've gotten Christian McCaffrey, it's been a completely different team, and I don't think that's really been talked about very much. Even with their third string quarterback, he's changed the dynamic of this offense because you have to account for him everywhere, whether he goes in motion, whether he's in the backfield, whether he's in the slot. Hell, they even line him up outside. So you got these guys running all over the field, chasing him around like a little squirrel in the backyard, and it's tough. It's tough. And I just think this team's playing the best football right now. Them and Philly. I got them in Philly in probably in the NFC Championship game, and that kills me as a Cowboys fan. But I'm just being realistic here. And guess what? Brock Purdy has looked pretty good for 2 weeks. Can he do it?
Oh, don't you start this Big 12 bull stuff.
But he
what is
hey,
Shannon Sharp say? This bull jive,
bull jive.
Texas Tech,
No.
Big 12. No, I agree with you. Purdy's looked good.
If he can do this, just do what he's doing and not turn the ball over. Heck, he's making touchdown throws, but if he can just take care of the ball in this offense and let it be what it is, it doesn't take that much when your defense doesn't give up many points. So I just like where this is going, and I like Kyle Shanahan. I always have. I think he's one of the best coaches in the league. Doesn't matter who's at quarterback. He's still winning football games. So
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I know it's probably shock value, but I like San Fran.
Well, one, it's shock because you're a Dallas fan. Two, but I love the way that you're putting the analyst hat on first, so that's great. I agree with you that San Fran is definitely the second best team in the NFC right now.
I think they are, yeah.
I think it's them or the Cowboys, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I also do think that Debo going down, Garoppolo going down, I think it's different when you get into the playoffs. And yes, I do agree that defense and running the ball wins games, especially when it comes to the playoffs. But to put a rookie quarterback in there that didn't come in until week 13 or 14 of the season, who was Mr. Irrelevant, by the way, the last pick of the draft, I believe 2 years ago, and make him say, okay, now we're going to have you stand back here and potentially like have to go out and win the game. Like, you could find yourself down in the playoffs and on the road as well. Right. And I just feel like that's going to be a lot, especially if Debo doesn't come back all the way healthy. But I do love the pick, Ryan. Me and Percy are going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I do love the pick, especially to go against the grain a little bit. But I do think that's where they're going to have some problems. So let's move on, Ryan. I'm going to come right back to you, and that is which team do you think is currently on the outside of the playoffs? The team that is not currently in the top 7 in the NFC that is going to finish the year in the next 4 weeks here, that's going to go to the playoffs, and why?
This one's hard, man. I really love what Detroit's doing, but my logic tells me Seattle. I believe Seattle is going to make it. I really do. I know Kenneth Walker's pretty banged up right now. He's day to day, but I think he plays. He's an absolute beast. I think it's going to take something severe to keep him out of the football game. Just that's how good he's playing. And when you're playing that good, you want to play football. So I think the Seattle Seahawks, I think it's maybe a little bit too late for Detroit. But I'm going to have to go with Seattle just with Kenneth Walker. And I like Geno's game still. I know it's kind of come down a little bit to maybe a little bit more of a reality, but I think he can still take steps and still be the guy that makes good throws and takes care of the ball. But yeah, I really like Seattle. I know they haven't really changed much in where their standings have been. They've kind of just been on the bubble there for a while. But at least they're there, and nobody thought they would be there without Russell Wilson. So I like what this team is doing, and I think they get in, to be honest with you.
Percy?
There's something about Ryan, man. We be on the same page a whole lot. I watch a million sports shows, listen to, plenty of podcasts. And it's like, damn, I don't want to be that guy. But just looking at it, man, if you guys, again, go back to our previous episodes, please do. I was shouting out Lions. But I think this is just too far gone this season. I don't think Aaron Rodgers and them can make it happen either. And I daggone not going with the Panthers or the Falcons. So, even though I live down here in the A. So I'm going to go with the Hawks, man. If they can get Kenneth back, you guys know I love a running game, man. And we got to give a shout out, man. Tyler Lockett does not drop the football. So if I'm in the playoffs or fighting to get in, I'm putting my money via FanDuel on Tyler Lockett.
Man.
He does not drop the ball. He knows how to find the end zone. That's a proven fact. It's not even a debate. If they can get him and DK going, uh, Goodwin got in the end zone last week. So I mean, honestly, I mean, if they can get Walker back playing at 70%, man, I would love to see Gino and the guys in the playoffs and see what happens, man. Because they already, in my opinion, and maybe you guys too, exceeded every expectation coming into the season. No one seen this happening for them to even be in this predicament coming in. You lose your franchise quarterback. You got Gino, and who was he battling with in camp? I don't even remember who he's battling with now.
He was battling with the backup or the quarterback from Denver who used to be in Denver. I think he was from Missouri. I forget his name off the top of my head.
And he locked that up, and he has not let
Mock?
off the gas since. So, yeah, I would love to see Seattle slide in there, man. I don't think the Giants make it. I don't think they make it.
I
And
think they're in free fall.
And the Commanders, I don't. Sorry to all my friends from the DMV area. I got one watching now. I don't see it happening. So let's go Seattle. How about you, Rob?
I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going to choose Carolina, and the reason I'm going to choose they still get to play the Bucks again. Tampa Bay looks horrible.
They look horrendous.
They look bad. All right. They look like a bad team that is ready to say 1, 2, 3 Cancun. And Carolina is playing. They just played your Seahawks, and they beat them 30-24 this weekend in Seattle, which is a very hard place to play. They're playing very inspiring football. If you just look at their record here recently, they beat the Falcons on November 10th. They beat they lost to the Ravens 13-3 on November 20th. They beat the Broncos 23-10 on November 27th. They beat the Seahawks on December 11th. The rest of their schedule here, they have Pittsburgh next week. Then they have the Lions. Then they have the Bucks. Then they have the Saints. They beat the Bucks last time they played them 21-3. And I just think that they beat I just think that they have a chance here, and I don't want to write them off without thinking that they're only 2 games back and really kind of 1 game back if they can beat Tampa Bay again. And I just don't see Tampa Bay and the way that they're playing being able to pull it out. So I'm going to go with Carolina. I'm going to stick with it, and I think that they are going to represent the NFC South and take over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Tom Brady is going to go home, and he is definitely not re-signing with the Bucs because I don't think he's going to retire, and I think Tom Brady's looking at probably going to San Francisco or somewhere else.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation for another day. That's a conversation for another day. Next question here for Percy. We're going to come right back to you, and this will be the last question of the night. Is which team in the NFC do you think is not going to make the playoffs this year, but the future is bright, and the future is really bright for this team? So go ahead and knock yourself out. I can't wait for one of you guys to say the Detroit Lions is going to be very interesting.
The future is very bright for this NFL team. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, there's something special going on down here, guys. Something special going on with the baseball team. There's something special, well, getting back to basketball. But honestly, no, all jokes aside, the Falcons, I think if they draft correctly and can finish a daggone game, I don't think Marcus. Well, we already know Marcus is not going to be the guy. We see that already. Can the young guy get it done? I think with more reps, give him a whole season. Who knows? But I really would say the Falcons. The Falcons can get it going. I want to say my Detroit Lions, man. That's who I want to go with. They can't get it going, man. So I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons, but I would love to see. I'm going to go ahead, Ryan. I know you're going to pick Detroit, Ryan. Well, I think you are.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but I mean, there's really no one in there besides Detroit, Seattle, Carolina's looking up a little bit, and Atlanta, but everyone else is kind
You could pick the Giants if you don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year. But go
of.
ahead.
I just don't trust that front office, and I never have. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I mean, they had a few good seasons and some luck with Eli, but that's another discussion. But I really do. I'm buying this Detroit Lions team. I really am. I mean, just the way they were playing on Sunday. I mean, they were whooping them. I mean, it was. I mean, this is supposedly one. I mean, this might be the worst or was the worst 10-2 team of all time, is what everybody was saying, and I tend to agree with that on paper. Um, but I got to go with Detroit with the way they're playing, and I mean, this season was over, right? That's all she wrote. We were gonna, Detroit was gonna tank for another top 10 draft pick. It was over, baby. We already knew what was gonna happen. Detroit fans they're used to this. They go, here we go again. Let's go to the bar. That's what they were doing. But look at the way this team has fought this year. I can't overlook that, and I can't just say, well, they've only won 4 or 5 in a row because they just because of sheer luck. No, there is no such thing in this league at this level. It's impressive what they've done. They play for their coach. I have said this the entire year that that Campbell is the guy that
You
they
have said
need
that.
to clean up this mess that's been the Detroit Lions for 2 decades since I was 10 years old. So yeah, I like the Detroit Lions. I think if they can have consistent quarterback play with their defense and their front seven, who's playing pretty well right now with Hutchinson, and add maybe some more pieces in the offseason, whether it be free agency or draft picks. Um, I like it. And they got Jamison Williams back from Alabama, the rookie. That man looked impressive. And he hadn't played a game in almost a year.
Yeah.
So I like
And
this team, and I think he could be the guy at receiver. I really do.
I like the Detroit team too. I really do. But I'm going to pick a surprising pick
The
here.
Panthers. No, I'm kidding.
No. I'm going to pick the Chicago Bears. And the
Oh wow.
reason why is because they have emptied out their cap. They've gotten rid of almost all of the players that were costing their cap a lot. They have completely obliterated their roster, but they have found the most important piece, and that is the quarterback. So they put themselves in a position that a lot of teams would like to be in. They have a rookie quarterback on his rookie contract. He's going to be going into his third year. They get to build a lot of pieces around him now going forward. We know that he can play because he's doing it with a very, very bad roster. They're going in with a boatload of picks next year. They get to build it around him. They get to get him the offensive lineman. They have a boatload of money to spend on free agents. And I just really feel like it's kind of there's a bunch of similarities that you could compare it to on, emptying out the cap and kind of like what the Jacksonville Jaguars have done. And, we found our guy, which is so hard. You're getting a 50-50 chance on if you're going to move forward with that pick in the first round as a quarterback. And if we go back and we look at the draft and we say, okay, between, Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, uh, who is, who is really going to get that second contract that we know for a fact. And I just feel really comfortable with saying that it's going to be Justin Fields. I do believe that he's the future out in Chicago. And I think he's playing really, really good football. And I believe that they have the stepping stones to start putting themselves in the right direction. So, guys, any closing words? So thank you guys for being on the show today. This was great. I appreciate everybody for coming on and all the listeners for listening. I know that you guys want to hear from these guys more and more, but we're trying to keep the show underneath an hour. Ryan, any closing thoughts here before we get ready for next week and have a podcast on Thursday?
Yeah. Just appreciate you guys. I love doing it. Love doing this type of thing. I love sports with all my heart, and it's been a pretty rough week, just with the passing of Coach Leach, as we mentioned in the kind of the monologue. But it's you know, he was so much a part of my childhood, just like a lot of other people out in West Texas. And it's a sad day. And I just thinking about Sharon and the kids, um, you know, in the Mississippi State football program and those kids that he recruited to play there. I'm thinking about those kids as well. And I just hope they go play for him in the bowl game. I know it's not a bowl game that they're too excited about, but it's a bigger deal than football. So I hope that takes place and they do decide to play. I know it was kind of up in the air, but he was the pirate, and they're playing in the Buccaneer Stadium with an actual pirate ship. So I think he'd be pretty pissed off if they didn't play. You know, I could just hear him screaming that. But also, want to leave you with this: that not only is the leading passer a Texas Tech grad, but the leading tackler in the league is also a Texas Tech grad. Shout out to Mr. Jordan Brooks of the Seattle Seahawks, playing like a man possessed. I love it.
Percy.
Oh, listen, man, the playoffs is right here in reach. This weekend is going to really show and I think shift, who gets in and how it happens. I'm going to be locked and loaded in that Miami and Buffalo game, guys. I think we're going to see. I hope we see a shootout. That's what I'm hoping for. We talked about it earlier. I will finish off with this. If Miami wins that game this weekend, they're going to the Super Bowl. That's all I got. Have a good week, guys. That's all I got.
Book it.
Hey, have a good week, guys. It's the holiday season. Make sure you're spending some time with your families. Happy holidays from Beyond Elevated. We will see you on Thursday night. Thank you and listen in. Thank you, guys. You have a blessed night. Thank you.
Peace.
See you guys, everybody.